Welcome aboard, fellow enthusiasts, as we embark on another incredible video. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of Wilsford, Wiltshire. We hope you find it enlightening. Wilsford is a small village and civil parish in the Vale of Pewsey in the English county of Wiltshire, about 4 miles southwest of Pewsey. The Salisbury Avon forms part of the northern boundary of the parish. To the south, beyond from Devizes to Upavon, the parish extends onto Salisbury Plain. Brace yourself for a captivating discussion on history as we explore its nuances and implications. Evidence of prehistoric activity on the high ground of Wilsford Down includes a round barrow next to the ancient Ridgeway track which marks the southern boundary of the modern parish. Nearby is a series of banks and ditches of uncertain date. To the west of the village is evidence of a henge enclosure known as Wilsford Henge, although it can only be seen as a crop mark in aerial photographs. Excavations of the site began in 2015. The ancient parish had two tithings, Wilsford and Manningford Bohun, a detached area some miles to the east. The latter became a separate civil parish in 1871 and is now part of Manningford Parish. In 1377, Wilsford had 77 taxpayers and Manningford Bohun 43. The population peaked in the mid-19th century, with around 300 at Wilsford and 280 at Manningford. Numbers at Wilsford halved by the end of that century, and continued to fall. 1971, when Wilsford had a population of 100, the Wiltshire Victoria County history described it as remote and undeveloped. Wilsford village developed near the river, along an east-west road which linked nearby villages. The Devizes to Upavon road turnpiked in the Ers and now there takes a more southerly route towards the slope of the plain. In 1897 the War Department bought the land south of the road for inclusion in the military training area. Today the lower parts are leased to farmers while the higher ground is within the Salisbury Plain training area. A school was built in 1848. At the same time, the 1791 east window of St Stephen's Church at Beechingstoke was replaced with new stained glass and the removed window was incorporated into the school. Children of all ages attended until 1934. The building was demolished after the school closed in 1965, and today the nearest primary school is at Rushall. A whole of the village was designated as a conservation area in 1975. Brace yourself for an enlightening exploration of MANORS as we dive into its profound implications. Domesday Book has no separate entry for Wilsford. In 1086 the estate was held by Alfric of Melksham and mortgaged to Edward of Salisbury. Edward gave it to his daughter Maud and her husband Humphrey de Bohun, and it remained in that family who were later Earls of Hereford. In 1421 the estate passed to Anne, Countess of Stafford, whose son Humphrey was made Duke of Buckingham. On the execution of his great-grandson Edward, 3rd Duke, the land passed to the Crown. It was granted to Sir William Sandys, later Baron Sandys, and remained in Sandys' ownership until 1654. Later owners included Sir John Hind Cotton and Sir John Dugdale Arsley, whose great-grandson Sir John sold the estate. The manor house was at the east end of the village, near the church and mill. The present Wilsford Manor is a 3-bay brick house from the early 19th century. In the 13th century, the Earls of Hereford superannuated part of their estate, which came into the Downsey family, whose descendants include Sir John Downseat, soldier and Member of Parliament for Wiltshire. Samuel Lewis's Topographical Dictionary of England of 1858 used the name Wilsford Downsey for the parish. From the 17th century the estate passed through several hands, and by 1808 had been acquired by Francis Dugdale Arsley and thus reunited with the main manor. The manor house was at the west end of the village, where the present Wilsford House 4 bays, in brick, is from the late 18th century or early 19th. With the foundation laid, let's embark on a journey into notable buildings. Beside the church, the oldest houses in the village include the following timber-framed cottages, with thatched roofs. Crook End has an exposed crook truss and is classed as late medieval by Historic England. The malt house has been tree ring dated in part to 1410. Number 18 has at its core an early hall house, tree ring dated to. As we progress, let's shine a spotlight on local government and examine its intricate interplay within our topic. Wilsford elects a joint parish council with the adjacent parish of Charlton Street Peter. The council is named Charlton Street Peter and Wilsford. Wilsford elects 2 members to sit alongside 5 elected by Charlton. The parish falls within the area of the Wiltshire Council Unitary Authority, which is responsible for most significant local government functions. Let's transition to parish church and uncover its significance. The parish church of St. Nicholas is built in ashlar under slate roofs, and has a west tower with a stair turret. A church at Wilsford is first mentioned in the earlier 12th century, although the present building is from the next century. The 13th chancel has a low 15th roof and is described by Historic England as a splendid example of a modest medieval chancel that rarely escaped restoration. In the 15th century the tower was added and the nave largely rebuilt. During restoration in 1864 the south porch was rebuilt and the nave re-roofed, resting on earlier corbels depicting alternating kings and bishops. A north chapel was removed in 1959 and there was further restoration in 1960. A blocked doorway in the north wall of the chapel contains recessed stones from a small 12th or 13th doorway. 5 bells were cast by Ruddle of Gloucester in 1718. The tenor fell in the early 20th century and the remaining 4 were repaired and hung in 1959. Monuments in the churchyard include 3 18th chest tombs. The church was designated as Grade II listed in 1964. All Saints Church, Manningford, Bohun was built as a chapel of ease in 1859. The chapel was separated from Wilsford in 1924, and at the same time Wilsford benefice was united with that of Charlton, although the parishes of Wilsford and Charlton remained distinct. North Newton was added to the union in 1963, and today the parish is part of the Cannings and Redhorn team ministry, alongside 7 others. I'm here to provide you with the best information, so let me know what else you'd like to learn about.